Welcome, everybody. Friday, May 5th. John Aravosis here with the Aravosis Report, here to talk to you about the latest news from Ukraine. Let me get my TikTok rolling here. And as always, we're going to wait about 2 or 3 minutes for folks to arrive. And then once folks are here, we will start the show. Don't have a ton of I've got interesting news today. Don't have a ton of news today, so we'll have a good Q&A available. Flip my camera here. Boom. All right. Woo. What's going on, folks? Introduce yourselves if you'd like. Hopefully our TikTok is working today. It wasn't being very behaving yesterday. Well, I had to come in and come out, and then it was better. But anyway, Ireland. Oh boy. So what's going on? Good afternoon, everybody. Hello. As I said, introduce yourselves if you'd like while we're waiting here. I've got Sasha resting in the chair next to me. I won't pick her up. I'll be nice to her today. Oh, man. I don't actually, it's funny. It's not actually a ton of news, though, today. There's, interesting news across the board, but I don't feel like it's a ton of news, actually. So we shall see. Thank you, Lee, for the roses there. Oh, exactly. Wagner and Russia are perhaps fighting again. Well, we'll see. I'll talk about it. It's not clear at all what's going on with any of this stuff. Yevgeny, I heard all about Yevgeny. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Anyway, welcome, everybody. We normally take a minute or two at the beginning of the show just to have folks introduce themselves, since we're waiting for everybody to get the notification from TikTok and YouTube and everywhere else. We do stream to multiple places at a time. So, well, Stovin, feel free to put the question in the Q&A. Make it easier, because that way I'll see it, hopefully. Anyway. We do not know what my family name means, actually. It is unique in Greek, which is interesting. Anyway. La la la. Thank you, 6Evo, or however you pronounce your name. I'll never figure it out. All right, guys, I will do a slow intro, since I've got to tell you anyway about the weekend stuff we're doing. Welcome. I'm John Aravosis. This is the Aravosis Report. This is my nightly show, Monday to Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern, where I beam to YouTube and Twitch and other folks on my laptop, and to you guys on TikTok on my iPad. So you will see me kind of going back and forth. The way the show works is I do about half of the show with me giving you the news, me going through sort of the news of the day, picking what I think is important, and kind of walking you through what I think is actually going on. Second half of the show will be your guys' questions. Best way to submit those questions on TikTok is to go to the Q&A link that's in my profile. You'll see it right there. Just go to my profile on TikTok, because that way it kind of queues them up nicely. For the rest of you, obviously, you can use the comment box at the bottom of your screen. I will get to questions early if you do a super chat question, because those are donations and I appreciate those. So if you do a super chat, I will get to those as the next question I answer. Appreciate super stickers as well, and the gifts on TikTok. I will always do a shout out when I see any of these, because I appreciate your guys' gifts, because they actually help very much, because I do this for free and I've been doing it full time since the war broke out. So I very much need your support to keep the show going, because that's how I pay the bills. So thank you, guys. Thank you, Kathy and Magical, both with the gifts on TikTok I see. Let me dive right in. So today is day 430. Ooh, I didn't update it. Today's 435, I believe, of Vladimir. Actually, hold on. I'm going to get this one right. I think it's 435. How many days since February 24th, 2022? That's what I thought. 435 days since Vladimir Putin launched his 10-day. My mic here, so hopefully it doesn't fall off. My mic is being evil with this shirt. There we go. Day 435 of Vladimir Putin's 10-day war in Ukraine. For the weekend, just so you guys know, I've got two interesting things going on. At 11 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow, Saturday, I will be doing my coffee talk, which is basically where allergies going nuts today, where I basically hang out with the paid subscribers as a thank you. So on TikTok, any of the paid TikTok subscribers, I will be on TikTok live at 11 a.m. Eastern time Saturday morning, just hanging out. On YouTube, not on YouTube, on Discord. The Discord folks, same thing. If you're a Discord subscriber, or if you're a Twitch subscriber, I've got Twitch hooked up with Discord, so your Twitch subscription will fit in there as well. And the previous Patreon people I've got linked in as well, but your Discord folks anyway. I will meet with you guys at 11 a.m. as well. You can find it via the Discord. Just look in the upper left corner, the thing that says $5 a week hangout. And the other thing is, tomorrow I will have my first show of my new Discord show. Thank you, Crazy Carl, for the hat. My Discord show, my new, Twitch show, which will be my week in review, trying something new on Twitch as an affiliate with my other account. It's Aravosis is my other account on Twitch. Thank you for the crown there. I'll just pull it up really quick. There you go. That's you guys can see, well, they can see. You guys, it doesn't matter, but you guys can see if you are actually any of you, if you've got a Twitch account, go check out 2 accounts. Aravosis, thank you, Crazy Carl. Aravosis, which is my weekly show on Saturday. I'm going to do a week in review, talk about the latest news from Ukraine this week, what we've learned over the last week, where things are. Thank you, Stephen. And who was that? Also, Tom with the confetti. And wait a minute, we had somebody out. There we go. Bradley with the coral. Thank you, guys. And Crazy Carl with the panther paws. Everybody's the beavers. That's right. We did talk about the beavers, Stephen. I'm remembering that now. Kanowski for the guitar. So join me tomorrow, 1:00 Eastern on Twitch at the Aravosis account will be the weekend review, and it's free, but you got to go to Twitch, and the rest of you I will see at 11 a.m. All right, let's get rolling here. Hang on, I'm messing up my my TikTok here, my YouTube here. There we go. Just trying to get rid of the banner. There we go. Oh, lots of fun things happening on TikTok, Allie and Carl. That was kind of fun with the hat and the money flying around. You don't usually see 2 of them at once. All right, Chris, I'm going to save your question because I'll probably get to it anyway. All right, guys, let me kind of roll in here. So there were more attacks on oil infrastructure in Russia over the night, an explosion at the Ilsky. Thank you, Carl, for that. At the Ilsky oil refinery in Russia's Krasnodar Oblast was allegedly caused by a drone attack, according to the Russians. We have seen now for the last several days that the Ukrainians don't always claim credit for this, but it's obviously the Ukrainians, have been blowing up oil facilities in Russia. Thank you, Carl, for that. And they are basically, in the military, you would call these shaping operations. They're getting ready for their counteroffensive. And one of the ways they're getting ready is blowing up the fuel supplies for the Russian trucks and the Russian vehicles, the Russian tanks, etc. So they've been sending the drones into Russia, blowing up oil storage facilities, and they've been doing it every day pretty much for the last week, almost every day. Thank you, Carl, for the breakfast there. So yet another attack. This tells us that in principle that the counteroffensive is imminent. We don't know when, but these are the things you do to get ready for the counteroffensive. Stephen, thank you for that. That's a very nice one, Stephen. Thank you for that. And Carl, everybody's going nuts on TikTok again today. Thank you, guys. I appreciate the gifts. Next story. Hang on. Tattooed Mom. Okay, that was pretty cool. The arcade game. Thank you, Tattooed Mom. Ukraine may or may not. Thank you, Jan. Ukraine may or may not have. Thank you, Magical. Oh my God, I'm sorry. You guys are doing. I love this on TikTok. Thank you for doing this. But and you always do it at the start of the show, and then later in the show, I'm like, come on, get the gifts going. All right, thank you, guys. So Ukraine may or may not have shot down a Russian hypersonic missile today. We don't know. The initial report was that they did. Now we don't quite know. The reports now are the Ukrainians aren't quite talking about it. What's interesting is when the Ukrainians don't talk about it, it often means they did it. For example, that whole drone in Moscow thing, the Ukrainians were very clear. They did not do it. And typically they don't do that. What I mean is typically the Ukrainians don't deny things. Typically they like to leave it like, oh, we don't know. And they play some cute little word game. They were quite clear they didn't do the drone attack. But in this case, first it was attributed to the Ukrainians that they knocked. An hypersonic missile is like Russia's new big, goes 10 times the, 10 times, is it 10 times the speed of sound? I believe it goes. I think so. But it's very hard to shoot down because it goes so fast. So anyway, the Ukrainians may have shot one down, which would be a big deal if they did. Russia, let's talk about Bakhmut for a little bit. Thank you, Susan, for the super sticker. Let's talk about Bakhmut because Bakhmut is the interesting story today, I think. Bakhmut, Russian. Did you notice, by the way, I edited the map a little bit so the shirt fits a little better. Bakhmut, Ukrainian town here in the east. The Russians have been, beating it to death for 11 months now, still haven't been able to get it. 11 months of the Russians trying to get this town. And the story got a lot more interesting in the last day. Now, the Russians reportedly have been ordered by Putin, of course, big surprise, to take Bakhmut in the next, what would this be? 4 days, by May 9th. Now, the idea is May 9th is Russia's big celebration for the end of World War II. And Russia likes to pretend that they single-handedly beat the Nazis. So they have a big celebration to show how Russia single-handedly beat the Nazis, which they didn't. And they were allies of the Nazis for 2 years and blah, blah, blah. If we can talk about Russia's role in World War II, it was pretty horrific. But nonetheless, the big celebration for the Russians is May 9th. It would be akin to, in a way, akin to our July 4th parade in America, right? Like the big patriotic hoo-ha. Well, Putin really wants Bakhmut. Mind you, they've been trying for 11 months now. So he is ordering again, we believe, he's ordering for the Russian troops to take it by May 9th, which is, hang on, always dealing with little trolls here, by May 9th, which is in 4 days. The situation in Bakhmut's getting a little crazier. The Russians aren't doing very well. And I don't want to say not doing well. I looked at the number yesterday because we were talking about this, and in fact, it is around 93%. The amount of land that the Russians control in Bakhmut. So they control about 93% of it. Not a small amount, okay? Not a small amount. But they're not really advancing. They're advancing very small amounts, like hundreds of feet a day. It's not been worth it. The other day, Prigozhin, who runs the group, said that they lost over 100 men trying to capture 150 meters. 150 meters would be a football field, American football, and a half. Okay? A football field and a half to lose 100 men to capture is useless, right? So the Russians have been losing tons of men going after Bakhmut. And anyway, Putin wants it because he wants something to show, to be like, hey, look how great we're doing, right? Now, this gets very interesting. There was a video last night that I can't show you because it's full of dead bodies, but very interesting because, hang on, sip of water. Very interesting because, the Russians really are out today, aren't they? Oh, they don't understand. I can block you. Sorry, we've got the Russian trolls are out today. The video comes out last night of Prigozhin. Prigozhin is the Russian oligarch, the Russian billionaire that is in charge of the Wagner Group. The Wagner Group, the Russian mercenary group that's been doing a lot of the fighting in Bakhmut. He has been complaining for several months, saying that the Russian government has not been giving enough ammunition, has not been, basically he's trying to kill his men, really, in Bakhmut especially. And what's interesting is, basically, he claimed about a month or two ago. Again, we don't really know if this is true or not. It's not clear what's going on. Keep in mind, some of this could be just disinformation. I mean, who knows if this is some plot from Putin? It could be, right? To make it look like the Russians are fighting each other, but actually behind the scenes, they're ready for the counteroffensive. Who knows, right? So you always got to keep it. I saw somebody, one of the sort of defense experts on Twitter say just that. The Russians lie. They always lie. So you've got to take that into account when you see the stuff. But Prigozhin yesterday does a video, 5-minute video that I cannot show you because the entire video is dead bodies. Okay. I always love when people ask this. What makes you an expert on what's going on? You can click on my profile on TikTok, see the link there, and go read my LinkedIn. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you, Russell, for the hat there. Yeah, that was good. Somebody else wrote 30 plus years in foreign policy. Thank you. That was very sweet of you on TikTok. Whoever did that, thank you. So Prigozhin does this video. He is standing in front of dozens of dead bodies. It looks real. These look like actual dead bodies. He is livid. He is talking about how these are his soldiers. We are in Bakhmut. There are dozens of dead on the ground behind him. He's lined them all up. And he's telling the cameraman, go back and forth. I want you to show every body. And they're showing these bodies. And Prigozhin is screaming at the top of his lungs at the defense minister, Shoigu, and the Russian version of the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. I used to know the name of what this position is. It's sort of anyway, it's the top uniformed military official in the Russian military, okay, who's Gerasimov. He is yelling at both of these, saying, you both are murderers. You killed these men. I'm going to read you. I wrote a couple. He claims tens of thousands of Wagner deaths are on their head, tens of thousands of Russian troops. He says, these are someone's effing fathers and someone's sons. And you effers who aren't giving us ammunition, you B, the B word for women, right? You B will have your guts eaten out. You will have your guts eaten out in hell. Okay. Now, he, again, 5 minutes of this, he concludes this, or was the video he did the next day saying, I'm leaving in 5 days, basically that his men, thank you, Kanowski, for the confetti, that his men are pulling out on May 10th. They're not going to do it May 9th because they don't want to like lose Bakhmut literally on Victory Day, right? The big celebration, May 9th, for the World War II ending. So he claims he's going to leave on May 10th, and that basically when he leaves on May 10th, Bakhmut could potentially fall and the Ukrainians get it back. Now, who knows? I mean, Kadyrov, who's this other, guy, Chechen leader who actually did a video supporting Prigozhin and demanding that the leaders in the Defense Department in Russia explain what's going on, says he'll move his troops in if Prigozhin's leave, which nobody thinks is true because Bakhmut has been a meat grinder. The Russians have been getting destroyed. I mean, just killed in this town. Okay. Kadyrov does not want to move his troops in there because they're going to get destroyed. Now, Prigozhin, it's a little weird because some people have a little bit of a problem believing this. First of all, because, we've talked about this. Putin likes to kill his opponents, right? How could Prigozhin get away with doing this when basically, also keep in mind, right? Any country, let alone Russia, but Russia being a dictatorship with Putin controlling it at the top, when you're constantly saying to the public, and mind you, these things do get to the public, even though Russia tries to, censor the internet and that kind of stuff. The Russians have access. They have access to Telegram, which is a social media app they use, and they love to share videos on Telegram. So I guarantee you that Prigozhin's video is being seen by Russians in Russia, and it's also being seen by Russian troops. Okay, they're seeing this, and they're thinking, "Oh my God, this is a disaster." Okay, here's part of the problem. Even if Prigozhin's faking it, even if Prigozhin and Putin arranged this, I don't know what benefit there is. Maybe they think they're going to trick the Ukrainians with the counteroffensive coming up, right? The idea that the Ukrainians think, hey, this is great, the Russians don't have enough ammunition. I don't know. And the Ukrainians somehow fall for it and don't prepare well enough. I don't know. The Ukrainians aren't that stupid, so they know not to trust this. But the Russian troops, they're going to see this and believe it. The Russian public, they're going to see this and believe it. They're going to see dozens of dead bodies of Russian troops. They're going to see one of the Russian commanders, Prigozhin, saying that the top two guys at the Defense Department in Russia didn't care. They're letting Russian troops die, and they're still letting Russian troops die. Well, okay, if you're the public back home, that freaks you out. I mean, that per se, that's going to freak you out. What if you're a Russian soldier getting ready to fight the Ukrainian counteroffensive, and you see this video, and you keep hearing, right? I mean, the top people say, oh, the war's great, Putin, the war's going great. But you hear from your friends the war isn't going great. You then see video put out by a top commander showing dozens of dead bodies and saying, these, by the way, these are all the men he says were lost that day, just yesterday. And you're watching this, knowing that you're going to battle possibly any day now against the Ukrainians. And one of the top commanders is saying, basically, you're going to die because the higher ups don't care about you and they're not going to give you the resources you need. You're going to be freaked out. That is not the kind of message you need to be sending to the troops. I mean, I'm glad they are, of course, as a supporter of Ukraine. But that is not the kind of message you want to be sending to your troops possibly days before they go to war against the Ukrainians in this next offensive. So, who knows what's going on? I mean, I really don't. Let's hope he does pull out his troops. Now, here's one of the problems, too, with him pulling out the troops. It is not clear. When I say it is not clear, dropping my microphone. When I say it is not clear, I'm being generous. Prigozhin does not have the power to pull out the Wagner troops out of taking my chapstick out of my pocket as I talk to you guys, to pull them out of Bakhmut. That is up to Putin or the top levels of the Defense Department, or the Ministry of Defense, I should say, of Russia, but it's not up to Prigozhin. So it's not even clear how he would do this is the thing, right? How would he even do this, pull his men out? Let's hope he does, This could screw things up with Bakhmut. Now, the thing with Bakhmut is, again, as I've said, I'm not convinced Bakhmut matters. A lot of the military folks in the West do not think Bakhmut matters. They think Bakhmut matters because it was a successful meat grinder for Ukraine to use it against the Russians. In other words, and I've told you guys this before, but it's important because Bakhmut is the big story right now. It has been for a while now. Bakhmut strategically may not matter much. The Ukrainians say it does. A lot of us don't think it does. But what matters is Bakhmut was a really good town for the Ukrainians to defend in because the Ukrainians still control the town. So the Russians had to use a lot of men to try to take it, and a lot of those men are getting injured and getting killed. And the odds were more in Ukraine's favor in Bakhmut than the surrounding towns. So the idea was, if you had to fight the Russians somewhere, why not fight them in a town where you've got the best advantage if you're a Ukrainian, right? And that's what's going on. So that's what the Ukrainians have been fighting, because they said, look, we got to fight the Russians somewhere. Let's fight them in a town. In other words, if and this is the number we think is true from NATO, if 5 Russians are dying for every 1 Ukrainian that dies in that town, why not fight there than in another town where only 3 Russians are dying for every 1 Ukrainian who's fighting, right? You want to fight the Russians in the town where you have the smallest number of deaths and they have the largest number of deaths. That's been Bakhmut. So that's why the fighting's going on there from the Ukrainian perspective. I don't think anybody yet can figure out why the hell the Russians are fighting there, but we do believe they've wasted a ton of troops. I mean, they've gotten a lot of their troops just downright killed. Final point to mention on this is interesting too, as far as what's going on with Bakhmut and Prigozhin. So Prigozhin, again, Russian billionaire, heads up this mercenary group. This is the mercenary group that's been taking the lead in fighting in Bakhmut, the town in the east that the Russians have been trying to get for 11 months. Putin's just ordered them apparently yet again to try to take it by May 9th, the big victory in World War II celebration. Prigozhin does this video yesterday where he's accusing the Secretary of Defense, the Minister of Defense, the top general, of being murderers, of killing his troops, his poor troops that he cares so much about. Up until now, Prigozhin's been the murderer. Prigozhin's been the one killing his troops. Bakhmut is, we've talked about this before, Bakhmut is the area. And the Wagner Group are the men who the Russians were sending like World War I style, just running in the open to their deaths to be shot down. And they just kept doing this again and again and again. And the Ukrainians would just keep shooting enemy body on top of body. They do not care about these men. They certainly don't care about the Wagner men. The Wagner men, I don't remember, it was half of them, but a large number of them are prisoners. They were people, they went to prison and they said, okay, they made sure, especially that they got felons. I believe it was people who had 10 years or more, right? So they went to the prisons and said, okay, if you're willing to fight for us, fight for 6 months. Now it may be a year, but at that time it was 6 months, and we will give you a pardon. We will release you from your prison sentence. Well, they then took these prisoners and sent them to certain death, again, running in open fields with their machine guns, right, getting killed. They told them, if you don't do this, we will kill you. If you do not run in the field, at the Ukrainians and risk your life, not even risk it, get yourself killed, we will shoot you. They even bragged. They even made, I actually own one of these. They've got military stickers they made, military patches. Thank you, Vicky. Military patches, that the soldiers wear and all of that. Thank you, Nick. Lily, I'll get to you in a sec. The military patches that are on their shoulders of the different brigades or whatever the unit they're in. The Wagner Group made one showing a skull with a hammer banging it and then some cute little saying. They're bragging about the fact that reportedly, and I think this might have been, I forget if this was Prigozhin or somebody else, reportedly, they took a hammer and bashed the skull in of one of their own men. I think it was because was this not the one where the man surrendered to the Ukrainians and then there was a prisoner swap or something? I mean, these guys are horrible. They're horrible the way they try. I mean, they're bragging about using a hammer to kill one of their own men. And now he's pretending like, oh, my poor men, I just care about them so much. So the whole story is very weird. And again, I say this because I don't know that we know exactly what's going on here with this story, except I will say good, because, and I'll conclude the Bakhmut section with this, the fact that Russian troops are seeing this video and the fact that the Russian people are seeing this video means the morale is going to go through the floor because it looks horrific. It looks like the Russians are having a horrible time. Thank you, Nikki, for that, or Nick, I should say, for that. Okay, Lilia says, super chat question. I think Putin didn't kill Prigozhin yet. By the way, Lilia raises a great question. why hasn't Prigozhin been killed by Putin? Because this is the kind of stuff Putin does, right? He throws people off balconies. He poisons their tea. And the question has been, is Prigozhin just too big to fail, we say, for the banks? Is he too big to kill? Like, is he just because he's got his own military? Does he have too much of a fan base? Like, what's the reason here that Putin would even let him get away with this if it's real? Lilia says, I think the reason Putin didn't kill Prigozhin yet is because, one, Prigozhin is too high profile now and has many fans. Okay. Two, Wagner has more military power than we think. Well, that's the interesting question, because look, when it comes down to it, there are very few, men in Russia besides, sorry, my eyes got something in it. Men in Russia besides Vladimir Putin who have their own military. They're starting to create some other of these, what do they call it? Private PMG, I think, private military groups like the Wagner group in Russia to try to sort of supplant it, because Putin's, not totally happy with Prigozhin, but Wagner is still the big one. And Wagner's men, at least reportedly, were pretty good. I mean, compared to the regular Russian army. So that could be it. Maybe they're worried. And honestly, the war isn't going well for Putin. Do you really want to lose, even if there's only 30,000 Wagner men left? That's 30,000 men. And it's 30,000 men. Well, I was going to say a lot of them were experienced men. You then got a lot of prisoners who aren't that experienced. They may be murderers, but they're not really fighters. But yeah, no, it's very weird they haven't taken them down. And thank you for the super sticker there. Let me see here. Okay, sorry. I'm going to circle a story so I don't forget. Here we go. And then let me do a quick pitch for my show. I always like to sort of pitch you guys to remind you that I'm doing this for free. I am doing it full time. And I would very much appreciate your support and need your support to keep going. Oh, PMC, that's it. Thank you. Appreciate your support. The way we've been doing it lately, I do have a Patreon still set up. I mean, you can use it. It's patreon.com/Aravosis, but I'm no longer linking the Patreon to this directly because they won't let me. They're letting me use the Patreon to finance my journalism overall, but they've gotten very nervous about the Ukraine stuff because, we try to help Ukraine on the side and everything else. So the Patreon is cut off from all of this. It is still to help my journalism about Ukraine. If you want to go to Patreon, you can do that, but it's not going to be linked to the Discord. So I'm telling you right now, it's not linked to the Discord, but it's patreon.com/Aravosis. You can go there if you want. The way I would prefer is to go to my Discord. And to go to my Discord and sign up. You can certainly sign up for free. That's totally cool. We've got a lot of cool things. Thank you for the galaxy there. And the number 1, user 52409. I always think I'm talking, and Victor for the galaxy. I'm always thinking it's what species 8472, which only the Trekkies will know whenever I see username, blah, blah, blah. But go to Discord. You can sign up. It's for free if you want, but you can certainly also go and become a paying subscriber, which I would very much appreciate. I'm trying to get 2 of you guys today to become a paid subscriber. Thank you, Lori, for the paper crane. You can find the link in my profile on TikTok. You'll see the Discord link there. You guys can find it at the bottom of the screen, either the aravosis.com or directly to the tiny URL link. And if you become a paid subscriber, you'll be a VIP member of my Discord. That gives you access to the Saturday morning show that I talked about that we're having tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern time, just for the Discord and the TikTok paid subscribers. But also you get access to our auctions. We've got some auctions we set up that are really cool, where basically I'm auctioning off cool stuff from Ukraine that Vlad sends me and stuff that I've been finding as well. Thank you, Tom, for the air dancer. And 50% of the proceeds go to support my work, because I'm doing this for free full time, and this is my job. I always feel weird explaining this, but it's like, you have a job, I have a job, this is mine. But nobody pays me, you guys pay me. So I appreciate your support. And one of the ways I've been doing this is doing these auctions. The auctions are really cool. 50% goes to support my work. 50% of the money we pull in gets channeled right back into Ukraine. We've been using it lately to make camouflage nets for the Ukrainian military. We also are auctioning off a lot of cool stuff. We've got this week's auction, among other things, the Azovstal steel bracelet. That's very cool. There you go. You can see the trident. This was Ukraine made these from the last batch of steel at the Azovstal plant, which is where the Ukrainian troops, 2,000 of them, held off the 14,000 Russian troops. We've got cool fridge magnets. This is one of my faves because it's the tractor pulling the tank. These sort of famous Ukrainian farmers pulling the tanks. It's a fridge magnet. Show you guys. I just like these a lot. All from Ukraine, of course. This is kind of a wild one because it's a Ukrainian Christmas ornament. It's got the thing on it, but it's also a fridge magnet. So in the off months, but it's the koza. I wrote down what it is. Is it a koza? I forget in Ukrainian. It's the goat. And there's this whole, you can look really close, this whole story of at Christmas, historically, they would, a young man would put on the skin of a goat inside out or something and some antlers pretending to be a goat. And he would go house to house with some other people and they would put on this play at each of the peasants' homes. And apparently it was to give you good luck for the year. And it was like, and now it's associated with Christmas in Ukraine. Anyway, that ornament I think is really neat. And my favorite personally is the black t-shirt of the Russian warship Go F Yourself, which I think is really cool. It's an extra large, but it's the, soldier giving the finger to the Russian ship, the Moskva, which is the one that the Ukrainians sank. And it's the one that officially is the Russian warship Go F Yourself ship. Thank you, Carol, by the way. As we're speaking about ships, Carol gets the sailing away thing. All right. Thank you, Eli. So, all right, guys. Anyway, go check out my Discord if you would. It's discord.aravosis.com. And I said, like I said, you can sign up for free. But if I can get just 2 of you to sign up as paid subscribers today, I'd appreciate it because I'm trying to sort of increase that. You can go to my links anyway, aravosis.com, or for you guys, the links in my profile. I've got a TikTok. I've got my Patreon. I've got PayPal. I've got Venmo. You can always give a one-time gift too. Anyway, whatever you can do, I'd appreciate it. All right, let me keep going here. So the Russians appear to be moving people south from Zaporizhia. You did subscribe. Thank you, Crazy Carl. Appreciate that. Hang on. Actually, SB's got a question. Okay. SB says SB doesn't have a question. SB wanted to see the new and improved map that no longer has sides on it. So SB wanted to see the map of Ukraine. People like our little map. I know some people think the map is too rudimentary, but we love our map. Our map has become a regular fixture of the show. My t-shirt map, actually, and it's a t-shirt map that actually has a lot of of Ukrainian towns on it. It's kind of funny. It's a very good map. Thank you for that, SB. So hang on a sec here. Deep. And Anne, and you guys, thank you for that. So the Russians have been, reportedly, they're going to move 70,000 residents deeper into Zaporizhia. Zaporizhia is the province here. Capital town, or the main town of Zaporizhia, is called Zaporizhia. Always gets a little confusing because the towns, the lead town in a state is named after the state or vice versa, right? So the Russians control sort of this part of Zaporizhia. The Ukrainians control the top part. And the Russians are now taking 70,000 residents here and apparently moving them south. That's what we hear. The concern is that I just saw somebody, it was Ellie. Thank you, Ellie, for subscribing. The concern is, the Russians have, is that the Ukrainians may be coming in for the counteroffensive and invading here. There is a lot of thought that one of the main areas the Ukrainians will invade to take back is around Mariupol. Okay. And sorry, Mariupol and Melitopol. Between the two, I would say Melitopol, they're even talking about more. Zaporizhia. If the Ukrainians, I say invade, but you know what I mean, the Russians are controlling it. If the Ukrainians invade and take back this land, they have now cut off Russia controls this. Russia controls this. So all of this Russia controls. If the Ukrainians come in here, they cut the Russian troops in half, the Russian invasion. So the two sides can't help each other. It makes it difficult to supply the troops because now the troops here can only get supplies from Russia here. The troops from here can't get anything from here. It makes it harder for the Russians overall. So it's not clear when the Ukrainians are going to do what, but everybody sort of thinks the Ukrainians are going to eventually go and take that slice of Zaporizhia. So we think that's why the Russians are starting to move citizens south. Having said that, it's not like the Russians care, right? The Russians are probably moving citizens south in part to hold them hostage or because they're just, I don't know. I mean, it's not like the Russians care about the civilians. That's, again, with Russia, you got to take everything with a grain of salt, right? A Russian Iskander missile reportedly crashed into a fence in the middle of a road near St. Petersburg. It was heading to Moscow for the preparations for the Victory Day on May 9th, and it crashed. I like the metaphor of that one. It just made me laugh. HIMARS, there's a story from CNN. I was reading it and watching it on CNN as well, that the Russians are starting to, or have been, interfering with the HIMARS system by jamming the GPS. HIMARS is a mobile rocket system that we've given the Ukrainians. It's been very effective for them because it has allowed them, it can shoot like up to 6 missiles at a time, or almost at a time. I forget if it's every 45 seconds or something like that. And they're very precise. The missiles are very exact, much better than what the Ukrainians had before with the system. The Russians are using GPS jamming now. Thank you, Bonnie, for the gift there. Are using GPS jamming to make it more difficult for the missiles to hit their target. The U.S. has been helping the Ukrainians sort of rejigger that to sort of work around the Russian jamming, and then the Russians try to work around our workaround. So the story was that it has had some impact, but we basically keep trying to work around it. So hopefully that's been effective. A few more stories. Thank you, Kanowski, for the coral there. Russia reportedly shut down the GPS in Moscow, which has been having effects now on people ordering taxis on their phones. Thank you, Stephen. Taxis on their phone, ordering those little scooters on their phones because the GPS shows you where you are and where the bike is. This is a weird story. I bring it up because it's weird. Thank you, Stephen and Monty, both there. The issue is, if the Russians attacked Moscow with their own drone, if the drone thing was a fake, why are the Russians seemingly freaking out and trying to shut down GPS all over the country to stop further drone attacks? I mean, it could all be part of a ploy. It could also be, there's another school of thought out there that some other Russian faction launched the drone at the Kremlin. Somebody who just was, I don't know, it could have been some other military faction or something else, or just a private citizen who wanted to embarrass Putin, wasn't a Putin fan. The fact that the Russians are going after their own GPS and blocking it, it could be a ploy, but it could also be interested. I mean, it could be, it's interesting. It could actually be real. So I don't know. I mentioned it because I think it's a little interesting that they are freaking out a little bit about the drone thing, it seems, at least maybe legitimately. The first 3 of 16 air defense radars from Lithuania have been delivered to Ukraine. They were crowdfunded, which is very cool. And the final story I wanted to tell you guys, hang on, sip of water, is a prominent Russian theater director, Yevgenia Berkovich, has reportedly been arrested and accused of justifying terrorism because she was putting on a play, an award-winning play. The play is actually, the message of the play is anti-terrorism. It's about the women who become ISIS brides, basically. I would say Russian women who married Islamic State fighters, and the Russian government got so upset at her for doing this, they accused her of justifying terrorism and arrested her for this. I mean, and again, it's an award-winning play. It's a play whose message is anti-terrorism, and of course they arrested her. And this is, it's one more indication of the dictatorship that Russia is becoming more and more each day. All right, that's it for the news. Let's go and do our question and answer. Also, I do have a store set up. I don't push it enough, and I probably should. But our store is at store.aravosis.com, my last name. You can find the link in my profile. I just go to aravosis.com at the bottom of my screen for you guys. Oh, hello. Hello, Stephen with the beaver. We talked about the beaver. Thank you for that. Beaver or badger? Beaver. Dancing beaver, yes. For you guys, you can go to my profile, click the Linktree link, and one of the links that comes up will be my store. Check it out. There's a lot of cool Ukrainian stuff. And one of the reasons I like to promote the store as well is, again, 50% of the proceeds are for me to support my work because I do this for free and I need your guys' support. And I do it full time. The other 50% we again channel back into Ukraine. Lately, we've been helping the military buy camouflage nets. So please do help us out there if you would. All right. Another groundhog there from Stephen. Oh, you're getting different families of related animals now. I see. All right, guys, let's do questions here. Let me start with actually a TikTok question because we did have a lot of questions. I'm using my multiple glasses here. We did have a lot of questions from the other guys today. Hang on, Q&A. What do you think of the Russians being in the waters up north of Scotland? Asks Ashleen. There have been stories, okay? There have been stories. I'll get you a second, Paul. Thank you for that. There have been stories recently about are the Russians preparing to attack underwater cables, providing internet to all of the world? It's a very small number of cables that provide most of the internet for everybody. And the story in the last couple of days made it sound like an attack was imminent, that the Russians were getting ready to do this. I don't think that's what's happening. I think the Russians, first of all, it makes sense. I mean, just like we would with Russia, they're going and they're plotting where all the cables are in case of war. Of course, they want to go after our internet if they can, right? So and mind you, it's the internet for all the companies, for Google, for Facebook. I mean, it's everybody, right? So they want to go after the internet, which makes sense. Thank you, Nancy, for that. And they want to freak us out. They want you to worry that the Russians are getting ready to attack. Oh my God, are they getting ready to attack Scotland? Are they getting ready to attack the cables, which is what the news has been kind of implying all week? I think this is all part of the same stuff the Russians have been doing with nukes as well, nuclear weapons, where they constantly are trying to make us think, who was this guy? The deputy, he was either in parliament or he was with their deputy foreign minister, I forget. But I read today his comments about, we're just about to go to war with America. We're this far away. And I'm reading this going, seriously? I mean, first of all, if Russia goes to war with America, Russia will lose. End of discussion. There is no way Russia wins a war with America or a war with NATO for that matter. Thank you, Stephen, for the disco ball. The best Russia can hope for if they go to war with America is that the entire world blows up and we all die, including them. To me, that is not a happy scenario. The point is, to Russia, that's not a happy scenario. I always say they're crazy, but they're not crazy, right? It's not like the Russians that sit there and go, all of us dying in a nuclear fireball and life on the planet ends. That is not something the Russians think, hey, that would be really cool. If we don't use nukes, if they don't use nukes, they lose. Because our military is so much better than theirs. And all you need to do is look at what's happening in Ukraine to understand that. Thank you, Dora, for the cap there. So every time I see the Russians making threats like this, I sit there and go, well, here's the thing. If we're freaking out about it, if we're worried about it, do you know how worried the Russians are about it? They're 10 times more scared than you are, the Russian leaders and the Russian military folks, because they know that our military will kick their butt. And I say this not as a patriot. I say this as somebody who studies this stuff. They will not win a war with us. They don't want a war with us. They're doing all of this. So they're doing all of this to prepare because, look, if they go to war with us, they need to do as much damage as they can. So, of course, they're preparing. But part of it is just to freak us out. It's to make you think, oh, my God, are they getting ready to attack Scotland? They're not getting ready to attack Scotland. Eurovision Watch. Yes, we did a Eurovision Watch party last year. What day is it? Is it this week already? Or is it? No, it's in a week and a half, isn't it? Is it May 13th, May 14th? Thank you, Stephen, for the glasses. When's the final day for Eurovision? Paul Gray just bought a question asking, so of course we'll answer those. We answer the super chat questions. But we did a watch party. That was like 4 hours for the finals. It was quite fun. I sort of watched it here in Chicago. I'm going to be in Chicago again this year. So we're going to watch again. Yes. We'll have to see if people want to see what day it is. Well, the final day, we watched the final day. I think it was the Saturday we watched. May 13th? Is that the final? Okay, that's good. That's perfect. Thank you, Cheryl. Because May 14th, we're celebrating late Greek Easter since everybody had COVID when we tried to celebrate it a few weeks ago. Okay, we'll do the 13th then. Yes, we will, Paul. Thank you for bringing that up and reminding us. All right, more questions. I can go back in here. And please do keep the gifts coming. You know, I love my gifts. Love my gifts. So thank you guys for that. And as I said, definitely check out the Discord. At least join the Discord just to join the community. Even if you just come for free, I'd appreciate it. It's discord.aravosis.com. It's like I said, it's fun. The auctions. See, I like the auction stuff because I'm picking the stuff for the auction. So to me, it's all the cool stuff I'd want to have. Thank you for the flowers, Flower Lady. Maybe yes, Flower Lady for the floral bloom. Thank you for those. All right, let me get more here. Oh, Magical. Thanks, Magical. Let me pull up more questions here, guys. Actually, we're doing okay today. See, I knew today was like a good amount of news. Oh, I want you to buy me waffles in Belgium. Vorkslong, are you kidding me? Didn't I tell you guys? Thank you, Soren, for the super sticker. Didn't I tell you? I'm not going to go through all of it now, but when I was in Belgium a couple years ago, I went to Ghent, and I'd never been to I mean, I've been to Brussels for work, but I never, Brussels was okay. I mean, I speak French, so that was fun, but Brussels was, it's nice, nothing special, but no offense if you're from Brussels, but we went to Ghent. And I loved Ghent. And it was this big music festival they were having. Lots of people, but nice people. And my friends were going to some jazz concert. And I don't really like jazz. And I don't like sitting down for music. I get kind of bored at concerts. So I thought, you know what? I'm in a town I've never been to. I'd much rather walk around. So I'm walking around Ghent. Ghent, to me, is like a little bit, thank you, Cynthia. It's a little bit of Venice and a little bit of Amsterdam for my taste. It totally made me feel, because the canals and the buildings, lovely. Well, I get to this little town square and they're selling food and I'm getting hungry and they're selling Belgian waffles. Now, as an American, I'm thinking Belgian waffles. I'm thinking like waffles for us are breakfast food, even though they're sweet. It's breakfast food. It's not the kind of thing I would eat as a snack, really. But I'm thinking I was hungry. So I thought, and I'm seeing they're putting like chocolate on it. So I'm going, okay, I could do chocolate. Thank you, Malcolm, for the hat there. So I go up there, I order my Belgian waffle and they're like, I forgot. I don't know if do the Dutch say schlag as well? In Germany, very few German words I speak. But when I was working and had to go to Germany, actually, when I went to Berlin, the time I got the Berlin Wall pieces, I learned the words Mitschlag. Everything was Mitschlag, which means put a big heap of whipped cream on top, Mitschlag. So I got my waffles Mitschlag and chocolate on it. And oh my God, I'm sitting there alone in this square, lots of people, but nobody I knew. And I'm eating this waffle. Thank you, Kanausi. And it was like eating, Schlagroom. Okay, close enough. It was like eating a fresh chocolate chip cookie. Oh my God. This was not a waffle. This was not an American waffle. Like I said, the closest thing would be warm and gooey, fresh chocolate chip cookie. Like I said, telling you, my nephew got a waffle maker and likes Belgian waffles. And I told him we need to find like the authentic recipes to make these because anyway, I'm giving you my Belgian waffle story. Thank you guys. Stranger for the music thing there, the music gifts. Oh my God. Yeah, to die for. Anyway. Oh, yes. Don't get me talking about, or do get me talking about food because I love food. But damn, that was good. And like I said, Ghent, lovely town, lovely people. I wrote a whole story on my blog about it. And the people of Ghent discovered my blog post. So then the local paper wrote about my blog post and took my photos and reprinted them, which was very cute. And then I had hundreds of people from the town of Ghent discovered my Facebook page. And they all started coming to my Facebook page and thanking me for liking their town. It was the sweetest thing you'd ever see. Absolutely. I know now I'm hungry too. Oh, yeah. I'll have to check the recipes and see sort of thank you, Kanausi, for that. See what the actual good recipes are that taste, like I said, it was like a cookie, like a cake. Oh my God, to die for. Thank you, Happy Friday. I tried finding the Happy Friday stuff, Bonnie, and I couldn't. All right, what else we got going on here? The drone attack in the Bryansk Airport, Antonov destroyed. That was a couple days ago. Yeah, there was some report a couple days ago that one of the Russian planes, like Antonov, I forget how much they cost, whether the Antonov was 70 million or something, but I remember reading that that they think the Ukrainians were able to destroy one of and it's an important Russian plane, and the Russian only has so many of them, Russia. So yeah, I did hear about that. So I'm trying to look here and see your guys' questions on the screen as well. Shooting reported in Belgorod. Thank you, user 4246 there. What else we got? Ellie, thank you. A May 9th parade watch party. That's funny. I don't know how I'm going to do that. Only if we knew drones were coming, then I would. The Antonov is or was the largest plane in the world. Oh, that's interesting, Magical. Okay, so that does make it interesting. What else we got here, guys? Feel free to post more questions. Oops, my TikTok, of course, is defaulting to a video. More questions. Hang on here. Oops. Come on, TikTok. Q&A. Here we go. Beep, beep, beep. Do you think Russia will actually use nukes? No, I really don't. I really don't. Cherokee Native is asking, we've talked about it a lot. I don't want to do sort of the whole discussion, but I think it's an important discussion to always bring up because honestly, it's the best argument the Russians have. Not the best argument, the best weapon they have, but not, here's the irony. Nuclear weapons are the best weapon the Russians have for winning this war, not by using them, but by threatening to use them. Okay, Brussels waffles. Okay, I'll try to remember that for later. Thank you. But by threatening to use them, the military experts all agree that there's no military advantage to Russia using nukes in Ukraine. It's not like, they drop these weapons and somehow the Ukrainian army all blows up at once or something. It wouldn't stop the Ukrainians from fighting. And actually, if you think about the Ukrainians, do you think dropping a nuke on the Ukrainians would make them surrender? I think they'd be 100 times more pissed off. I think you'd see a bunch of Ukrainian grandmas there with pitchforks going after the Russian soldiers. You know what I mean? So the experts just don't think there's a military advantage to Russia using the nukes. The downside for Russia, they use nukes and what happens? Possibly India and China abandon them. Possibly South Africa does, Brazil. So all of a sudden you get all these countries around the world that at least they're maybe not their allies, but their friends who are sticking with them, who are not doing the sanctions, could absolutely freak out. You force the West to intervene. You force America to intervene. We cannot, look, it's been a long time since World War II. There's also a legitimate discussion. I would say there's a legitimate discussion about nukes being used in World War II. I know, scary topic. People don't want to admit it, but World War, it was a legitimate, when I say legitimate, I mean, it's not as if somebody said, hey, let's drop a nuke, right? There was an actual world war going on and a legitimate discussion about trying to stop that war. So I feel what I mean is it was a serious discussion, at least trying to figure out, should you use them? There is no legitimate discussion going on. There's no legitimate argument to be made for, yeah, let's nuke Ukraine, right? The US and the allies have to make clear that if Russia uses nukes, we will enter the war, because we can't have a world where using nukes is considered like, just another weapon you use. If the war's not going well, use nukes, right? Because then if we allow it here, guess what? That sends the message to China. China's watching too. China doesn't want Russia to use nukes, but China would be very interested in seeing Russia use nukes and watch America and NATO go, well, I mean, we said we would enter the war, but we still think it's too dangerous to fight Russia because they have nukes. So we're going to do something, but we're not going to enter the war. China would look at that and go, okay, this is interesting. So in other words, China could use nukes in Taiwan and you'd be pissed off, but you wouldn't actually declare war on me, right? So I don't think we have a choice. And I think my final point here is, I think the Russians are rational. I hope they're rational. I think they're rational, that they look there and they know that yeah, it'd be nice, I guess, if we could use them. But in the end, if it forces America to enter the war, we lose. Because as I told you before, if America and NATO enter the war, Russia loses. Either the whole world blows up, or if we all don't use nukes, we win, because our military is better than theirs. I mean, now we know our military is way better than theirs. Even though we always knew it was better, now we know it's way better. Genocide is okay, but not nukes. I don't know what that means. Oh, in terms of what Russia's doing, well, yes, actually. Yeah, I'm not sure if you're talking to me, Nancy, but yes. I mean, there is a different threshold. It just is nuclear. This is why I worry a little bit about chemical and biological weapons, because they're horrible weapons. But in the psychology of the world, people, nuclear weapons are in an entire other category than chemical and biological, right? The Syrians used chemical. I don't remember, has anybody used biological since World War II? I don't remember. And recently, has anybody used biological? Like I said, I know the Syrians have been using chemical. I don't remember biological. But those weapons, again, horrible. They ain't nukes, right? You hear, but it doesn't matter, Chris. Chris is saying biological weapons are worse than nukes. Doesn't matter. The public. But were they biological against the Kurds? I thought those were chemical again. I think they were chemical. I think Syrian gas is chemical. That's what I'm saying. I think it was chemical. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter, because the point here, there was also a gift. Thank you, Bonnie, for the star there. My point is, the perception of nuclear weapons is 1,000 times scarier than a chemical weapon being used, or a biological. Biological scares people. Nuke, right? Not partially. Russia uses a biological weapon in Ukraine. People don't think, oh my God, we're going to have a nuclear war. Russia uses a nuclear weapon in Ukraine, and immediately people think nuclear war, because we're using nuclear weapons. We all have nuclear weapons. I am convinced I'm right about this. There is a taboo against nukes that doesn't exist for the other stuff nearly as much, so that I worry to a degree that if Russia were to use biological or chemical instead of nukes, that somehow our response wouldn't be as much. I love by the way, one of the Russian troll talking points that always cracks me up. You talk too much. I love that one when it's like, it's a show, it's a talk show. I'm the only one who talks on the talk show, and it goes for an hour. So who else is supposed to talk? But it's clearly, like I always say, they have their talking points they're given, and you can always tell because it's the same thing they bring up all the time. So it's meant to throw you. I don't want to grab Sasha right now because she's sort of laying down next to me on the chair, and I feel bad when I pick her up. Hey, the trolls come. Maybe the trolls learn something, you know? Maybe they learn something. Yeah, I mean, so Hayes 76 is bringing up a point about incendiary munitions being used in Bakhmut. These are, hey, Daniel, I'll get to yours in a second. These are actually had grabbed this, and I don't know if I finally got rid of it. Who is Lock and Key from? Kanowski, thank you. I had this story and got rid of it. I think I may have, yeah, I got rid of it. I'd done some research on the incendiary, basically really hot, scary stuff that's like fire coming down from the sky, not unlike napalm. Their Russians are using it in Bakhmut, which is the town in the east in Ukraine that they've been trying to get for 11 months now. The videos today are really scary. Everything's covered with little bits of fire, basically, and it's very hard to put out. I don't know the issue regarding the legality of it, Hayes. The reason I didn't bring it up, thank you, Inspired Woman, for the lights. The reason I didn't, a webcam for Sasha would be funny, actually. The reason I didn't bring it up is because I also was reading today that Russia's been using this thermite is what it's called. Correct. Chris, thermite is what people have been calling it today. Thank you, Inspired Woman. They've been using these thermite weapons for a while now in Bakhmut. This actually isn't new. It's horrible. So, I mean, I could have mentioned it, but I didn't bring it up because it's not new. So I didn't feel like there was a value added to the discussion other than simply going, these guys suck and they're doing horrific things to Ukraine. You know, anyway, just explaining to you why I was aware of that story. The video is pretty awful. Is it white phosphorus though, Edsel? Because they were calling it thermite weapons, but they weren't specifically saying white phosphorus. That's why I wasn't sure about that. In any case, they've been using this for a while now. Yeah, they've been using it for a while. Edsel is one of my military experts. He and Callum are, I mean, there's more of you, but he and Callum are my go-to guys for there's more of you, but thermobaric, they used thermobaric. I want to say they used a month ago, actually. I had seen a report on that. The thermobaric weapons are the ones that, in essence, light the air on fire and suck the air out of your body. It's horrific. But I thought I read that those were that about a month ago they were being moved. There was something going on with those. I don't know, Edsel or anybody else. Do you know if the thermobaric had been used recently? I remember there was a report a month or so ago that the thermobaric were being like loaded on planes or something. And there was some concern about that. You know? Well, that's true. You're all dudes anyway. Exactly. We're American. We say guy for everybody first anyways. Yeah, sets the air on fire. They did use it last year. Remember they were using it originally in, was it Mariupol? It might have been Mariupol because we actually saw videos of it. It was really nasty. But I don't know recently if there's been any use of the thermobaric, which also makes you wonder, how much do they have? Do they think it's useful? I mean, something like Bakhmut, for example, you know, it still is a little difficult because you're dropping these weapons on these towns, but they're the towns you're trying to take over. So you've got to be careful you're not basically burning your own troops if you care about these things. I mean, in principle, Russia cares kind of about it. Russia's been known to use it in Syria and Ukraine, magnesium-based, and are legal because they're launched from the ground, Average Guy says. Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. Okay. See, I learned something here. Oh, and then we have Daniel. I saw Daniel drop in. Hey, Daniel. Yes, there's also the issue of the Zaporizhia nuclear plant being used as a dirty bomb. Also a good reason to retreat back to Mordor. I wonder how the Ukrainians will choose to take it back, surround or storm. Yeah, so the Zaporizhia nuclear plant, thank you for that, Daniel. Zaporizhia nuclear plant is all the way here at the tip, You see how the river goes kind of up and then down and then up. Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant is on the south side of the river, up at the tip. Okay, and the town is Enerhodar. I have a hard time Enerhodar in English, Enerhodar, right here, and the Russians are occupying it. They've been putting it at risk for a while now with fighting and everything else. They then last week put somebody on top of it with like guns. They now reportedly, as of yesterday, have been putting weapons inside of it, like maybe even rigging it with bombs inside. I mean, crazy stuff these guys are doing. And would the Russians use it as a dirty bomb? They might. I think to some degree. Yeah, thank you, Dan. Let's tell you what a dirty bomb is again. Dirty bombs are bombs that use nuclear material, but they're not nuclear bombs. And what I mean by that is, and again, I don't claim to be an expert on nuclear bombs, but I think we all know nuclear bombs are special in the sense that there is a nuclear reaction that happens that, remember how like it starts so small and goes wow, super big, that it's this cascading reaction of something so small that becomes huge, right? That's because of the nukes, the nuclear material going off, but it's not. It is a very complicated process. It's not like you put a match to nuclear material and it explodes like that. A dirty bomb is a regular bomb, not nuclear, and you simply strap nuclear material to it. So when the bomb explodes, and like a typical bomb blows up, you've seen the pictures, right? A bomb goes off, a cloud gets thrown in the air, stuff gets thrown around. Well, if there's nuclear material with it, the nuclear material also gets thrown around. It doesn't explode like a nuke. It just gets thrown around because there's an explosion. Well, nobody wants nuclear material thrown around. It's still really freaky. It's called a dirty bomb. A dirty bomb is considered very scary. It's a terror weapon, really. It's the kind of thing you use if you're trying to scare the hell out of people, because as I said earlier in the show, this notion of nuclear weapons being scary, right? And people would, even me having to explain it, I had to go through this whole explanation of it's not a nuclear weapon. People would just assume it's a nuclear weapon. So the concern is whether Russia would try to use the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant as a kind of dirty bomb, trying to basically blow up the plant and the material inside to basically say F you to the Ukrainians, right? Because it's Ukrainian territory. It's a Ukrainian plant. The plant, by the way, is the largest nuclear plant in Europe. It provides, I think, 20% or more of Ukraine's power. So the Russians have a reason why, if they leave it, they might like to blow it up, right? Well, it's not easy to blow such plants up by just attacking them. These plants are, and actually, we had Googled this too. The plant, this one is, I think, as well. Thank you, Kanausi, was made so that you couldn't basically. So, like, if a plane crashes into it, it won't explode. Right? That was sort of the myth, but apparently it's true. Thank you, Kanausi, for that, for the bear. The issue becomes if you cut off the power to the plant. If you cut off the power to the plant, the cooling system stops. If the cooling system stops, the nuclear rods that fuel the plant overheat and they can explode. They can explode and just throw fuel everywhere, dirty bomb, right? They can also potentially have a meltdown where it gets so hot that it rather than sort of exploding like this, from what I understand of meltdowns, it literally melts down. It goes through the floor of the plant, it goes into the ground, it goes all the way down to the water base of the ground, and now the water is polluted with radiation. Disaster, right? That's the concern of what could happen. I would not be surprised if, first of all, I would almost guarantee you Russia has already figured out. Yeah, sorry, we had a troll, but I love when the trolls, Andrei Zhikov says, I do not know what I am talking about. Okay, Andrei Zhikov. All right, because mom may be watching, I'm not going to make fun of your name. But I've got a good one though. So yeah, I mean, I would almost guarantee you, I guarantee you the Russians would, it's not a matter of an explosion. It's a matter of if they overheat, you don't know what could happen to the rods if they overheat, because they're going to overheat. But yeah, I guarantee you the Russians probably already have a plan to basically see if they could blow up the plant on the way out. The question is whether they'd actually do it, you know, any case. All right. So maybe a couple more questions and then we'll call it quits, guys, because I'm going to go in. Zaporizhzhia is different than Chernobyl. Thank you, Ellie, for the star there. Brave Cobra, I don't know the details, but I remember, for example, there's less concern about Zaporizhia than Chernobyl, because Chernobyl's the plant in the northern Ukraine that blew up when it was part of the Soviet Union, right? There's less concern about Zaporizhia, but when it comes down to it, they're still concerned about Zaporizhia, because in the end, if you cut off the power and you cut off the coolant, you're going to have problems with the, with the fuel rods. Turkish elections, I've been reading up on them. The Turkish elections might be May 14th or 15th, I think. Erdogan, the kind of wannabe dictator, is having some issues, which is good. He may lose, which would be great. The opposition seems to be pretty good. There were some weird comments recently. I don't know if it was about them and the Kurds, or something, not of the Kurds, sending all the refugees from Syria back to Syria, where a lot of them would be killed. So, it's Turkey. It's not like the opposition is going to be perfect, I guess. But I've been following it. I just don't know enough about it to sort of tell you too much, though. We don't know how Ukraine's going to do in the counteroffensive, and we just don't know. I mean, the good thing is, it looks like they've got a lot of the weapons they wanted. We heard, what was it, a week or two ago? Supposedly they had 230 tanks. I just saw in the news in the last day that I didn't put it here, but there's another, it was Leopard 1 tanks. There's another, was it 70, 60, 70, 80? The Denmark and Germany together. Those tanks that they promised are coming soon. 80, is it? Red Shot? Thank you. Okay, around 8. I remember it was around that amount. That's great. I mean, that's freaking great. So another 80 tanks would put them into 320 or 340. That would be pretty cool. Oh, yeah, Dan. Oh, that's right, Dan. Thank you. I did say a quick thanks to Dan, but I didn't put your question up. Thank you, Dan. Yeah. No, I know you're kidding. Don't worry. Thank you for that. Thanks, Roshan, for reminding me. Anyway, like I said, we could do a couple more questions, and then we'll call it quits, because tomorrow I've got a busy day. Because remember, so tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, I'm going to do my coffee talk show with you guys, which is the paid subscribers on TikTok, the paid subscribers on Discord. Also, if you're on Twitch and a subscriber on my affiliate channel, Aravosis, not this channel, the Aravosis channel, that syncs automatically with Discord. So you will also be welcome. But that'll be 11 a.m. Eastern. And then at 1 p.m. Eastern, 1 in the afternoon, I will be doing my new weekend review show only on Twitch, because it's the way it works with Twitch. If you want to do sort of a special show, affiliate show, it's got to just be there. If you're on Twitch, if you're not, come join us anyway. It's free. I would like if people come. I'd be kind of bummed out if it was only 5 people. Although if it's 5 of you, I'm sure it'll be a glorious 5 Twitchers who show up. So we'll have a very intimate discussion, which is fine. But please do try to come, guys. 1 o'clock tomorrow. The coronation should be over by then, I think. Coronation should be happening like 5. Twitch will be 1 p.m. Eastern time. 1 p.m. Eastern time. What time? But the actual coronation is at what hour? What time is the actual coronation in the UK? Is it noon? I would imagine it's noon, right? When's the actual ceremony and all of that? Twitch is an app. Yep, it's a social media app. You just create a name. 11 a.m. in the UK. All right. And what time is it in the UK? So they're 6 hours ahead of Chicago. So 6 hours ahead of Central Time. So that 5 hours ahead of the East Coast. So if it's at 11 a.m., that's going to be 5 a.m. in the States. By 1 p.m., there ain't going to be nothing going on with the coronation. So yeah. You'll be able to join me. You know what? Maybe I'll wrap up with this, and then I'll do the quick recap of the news. Somebody was asking what's up with Wagner leaving. So, well, no, you know what? I'll do another recap of Wagner when I do the recap right here. Let me do the quick recap here. Day 434 of Putin's 10-day special military. Day 435 today is of Putin's special 10-day military operation. The Ukrainians did more of an attack on Russian oil infrastructure again today. The Ukrainians may or may not have shot down a Russian hypersonic missile, which would be a big deal if it's true. I think I'm going to skip Discord tonight because I'm doing a lot of shows tomorrow. So let's do that, because tomorrow I've got a lot of, I'm going to be doing 2 hours with you guys potentially tomorrow, or hour and a half maybe. Thank you, Big King Fun. I appreciate that. But if you do go to the Discord, do check out the auction. Like I said, I've got a lot of new auction stuff there that's very cool. Some stuff that I don't show here because it's military stuff. I don't want to freak out freak out TikTok and YouTube. But there's some cool military stuff as well that I'm auctioning off. So go check it out from Ukraine. Russia reportedly is trying to capture Bakhmut by May 9th. Prigozhin, the oligarch who's in charge of the Wagner mercenary group, did a video last night screaming. Oh, Dan had a question. Okay, I did not see Dan's question. I saw Dan kind of joking around with dude. I thought that was Dan's super chat. Hang on. Yeah, I see, John, you talk too much, dude. Where's Dan's question? It's hard for me to find stuff that isn't super chat. No offense. I'm not trying to make you buy it here. Oh, no, Daniel O'Neill, I already got. So didn't I already get Daniel? Yeah, what am I missing here? Above. Oh, God. Oh, here we go. Yeah. Okay. Has there been anything in the news about attacking the naval fleet or rebombing the bridge between Crimea and Russia? No. The Russians, we know, have been very careful about once their boats got hit. Well, the main boat was the Moskva. Once the Moskva, and I'm trying to remember now, the Moskva might have been around here, I think. I'm trying to remember where it got hit. And then the Ukrainians were attacking Sevastopol as well, the Russian fleet down here. The Russians started moving their fleet instead of here, and also further here to get them further away from the Ukrainian coast, because away from Ukrainian missiles. So there hasn't been any talk so far about more Russian ships getting hit. We also haven't heard anything about the bridge getting bombed. The Ukrainians certainly have been hitting towns near here. I think on the Ukrainian side, certainly on the Russian side. Some of the oil facilities they're hitting are in Krasnodar or whatever, which I believe is the region right here. The problem becomes a drone is a lot easier to blow up an oil container, right? An oil depot or whatever, because oil is flammable than a bridge is. A bridge is not easy to blow up. We still don't quite know how A, if it was the Ukrainians that blew up the bridge, B, was it a suicide bomb or what? But we do know it was a truck bomb, apparently, and a pretty big truck bomb. That it took a bomb. They didn't have like a rocket that could do it. So I don't know. Having said that, if you're Ukraine, I would think one of your priority targets is blowing up that bridge like the 4th of July or the 14th of July or whatever your national day is, New Year's Eve, right? Man, they want to destroy that bridge. Also, because that bridge is Putin's baby. It's the bridge that connects occupied Crimea to Russia. So Russia built it to like cement their hold on Ukraine. So the Ukrainians want that thing gone. So, but there's been no talk about it. No, it'd be pretty cool though. If they blew it up. And knowing the Ukrainians, knowing the Ukrainians, they clearly tasked somebody with a creative way to blow it up. The only question becomes, can they pull it off? So, all right, continuing. Sorry about that, Dan. Did not see that you had an actual question. Sorry. Thank you. Prigozhin video. Yeah, so Prigozhin did a video slamming the Ministry of Defense, saying you've killed tens of thousands of my troops, showing lots of dead bodies, and claiming he's going to pull out his troops from Bakhmut by May 10th. Maybe it's true. Who knows? And we don't know. And we don't know whether he even has the power to pull them out or whether that's up to the Ministry of Defense. Thank you, Kanowski, for the duck, for the Aflac. The Russian Iskander missile reportedly crashed into a fence in the middle of the road on its way to the May 9th festivities, which kind of made me laugh. I see here Joanna's putting up a timetable here, which is good. Thank you, Allie, for the crown and the whatever the red thing on my face was. Russia's been thwarting U.S.-made HIMARS by going after the GPS, but the U.S. has also been thwarting back, which is good. Speaking of GPS, Russia's reportedly shut down GPS in Moscow out of fears of another drone attack, if the drone attack was even real. The first 3 of 16 air defense radars from Lithuania have arrived. These were crowdfunded by the Lithuanians, which is kind of neat. And a prominent Russian theater director has been arrested for putting on a play that talks about ISIS brides, Russian women who marry ISIS terrorists. The play is anti-terrorism, but of course the Russians are accusing her of being pro-terrorism. So they arrested her because that's the kind of country Russia is. Last map for the day from Mario, of course, for Super Mario. There's the map, the new and improved map. I do keep forgetting the pins are there. I guess we haven't talked about Belarus yet. There's a bad pin in Belarus that I always hit my hand on at some point when we're talking about Belarus, because I always forget. All right, guys. thank you for this. I'm going to go. So yeah, let you guys do your thing. I'm going to go and make dinner. Going to have Connie's Pizza, frozen pizza, a new brand in Chicago. Well, new for me in Chicago. I'm told it's good. Yay. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Remember, paid TikTok and paid Discord subscribers. The Discord includes Twitch on the Aravosis account. Actually, let me bring this up so you can see the Aravosis account. Hang on. I will be having a coffee talk tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern time, just for the paid subscribers to say thank you. And then at 1 p.m. Eastern time, 1300 hours for the rest of you, I guess. 1 p.m. Eastern time. Thank you, Hedge for the hog. I will be having my first weekend review show that we're going to do for fun and see if it works on Twitch. And for you Twitchers, there we go. Yep. Thank you, Inspired Woman, for the seal. For you Twitchers, the account you're looking at right now is my Aravosis Report Daily. It's my daily account, Monday to Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern. The weekly show is the Aravosis one. That will be the one tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern time, US. Very simple. Just for TikTok, it's easy. It's the same name as my TikTok account, Aravosis. That's the account I'll be doing tomorrow. So do make sure you follow me on Twitch here, but make sure you also follow me on that one, because that's the one I'll be going live on. All right. Otherwise, thank you guys. Thank you, mods, for going after the trolls. As always, looks like we had a lot of fun ones today, like that guy. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. All right. So thanks, guys. I am enjoying the weather. I took the dogs out today for a long walk. Very nice. Got a lot of auction gifts mailed off. So whoever won the auctions the last week or this week, I got all your stuff mailed off. Gifts, I'm calling them. I got all your gifts mailed off today. So very exciting. All right, guys. Yeah, Whack-A-Troll Central. All right. I'll see you guys later. Going to make my pizza now. Thanks, guys. Hopefully see a bunch of you tomorrow. Bye-bye.